Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for coming in and share with us this time. And thank you, Sheila, for also like accepting this invitation. And I'm so excited to be able to share your knowledge with the people and with the UP's community and friends, which is like my home now. And so it's really good to share a little bit of yourself with them too. And so just a couple of rules, like in general for the webinar, I'm gonna ask you to turn off your microphones, please. So we don't have any noise and everything can be like good. And also, if you want to keep your videos on, that will be awesome too, but please turn off your microphones. And all the questions and comments, please write them on the chat, because we already have like around 65 people that were going to come in. So we're not going to be able to all talk through this, but please just use the chat for that. Sheila will be asking some questions in a couple of minutes, and then maybe even through the presentation. So whenever she asks the question, you can just respond on the chat. I will be checking on the questions from the chat and letting her know at the end of the presentation all the questions that you guys have, so we can just address them properly. And if we have any technical problem, just please bear with us just for a little, like maybe 5 minutes to see if we can just fix them. But we hope that we don't have that. But in case we have it, it's like that's the way that we're gonna do it. We're gonna wait just 5 minutes and then we're gonna do this again. That's in general. So I'm gonna. Well, I already said that. We know Sheila. Sheila is a friend from the university. She visited us last year, and it was really good to meet her because she has like a lot of knowledge, and she works as a licensed clinical social worker, and she's the director of the trauma program in the suicide prevention and crisis services in Ithaca, New York. And so she came to share with us a little bit of her experience and to know what University for Peace was about too. So it was really nice to get to know her and to keep being now her friend for a year. And it's really nice to have that still like going on. So that's exactly why she was really nice to share with us some of her work. She also has like a clinical practice also in Ithaca, New York. And she's now like helping a lot with this situation, and also like kind of supporting all the medical staff and people that are going through a really hard time in New York and in the world, I guess in general. So thank you, Sheila. Thank you very much for joining us and for giving us this space on, I'm sure your packed time, and to share with us a little bit of your thoughts on how to deal with ourselves also during this pandemic.
Nastia, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with everybody. I am an old lady when it comes to tech, and I'm feeling very proud of myself for what I have arranged. Though what I thought when our time together was here, I thought I would see every face in our group.
I can do that.
Okay, that would be super.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing this. And now you can see, maybe everyone can just turn on their video so that Sheila can see you. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, everyone. I am so moved to be with you, so honored to be with you. As Nastia said, I had come to visit the University for Peace last year, and I am choked up to see the faces coming on the screen. So my goodwill is extended to you. As Nastia said, I am located in upstate New York. Home is Ithaca, which is about 4.5 hours north of New York City. And we have Cornell University in our community. So as the University for Peace is asking the questions of how to conduct life on campus, so too is Cornell here locally. As I prepared for this afternoon, well, I want to say one thing before I go into my official presentation. I was taking a walk before our session, And we are in the Finger Lakes of upstate New York, the beautiful Cayuga Lake and the rolling hills of the Finger Lakes region. And I remember when I visited Costa Rica, I was so taken by the familiarity and beauty of the hills around San Jose and around Nosara, where I had a chance to be. So I share the beauty of the earth with you as we begin our time together. So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been in practice for about 20 years. My background is in community and union organizing. So as I prepared for this presentation today, it's a presentation that I've been using just in the last few weeks. And it is a theory and practice presentation. And so I wanted to mention at the beginning that the theories that inform the work that I will share with you are for mindfulness, and a very important voice in the world of mindfulness is Jon Kabat-Zinn. Cognitive behavioral therapy, trauma-informed care, and the values of social justice. So as we settle into a presentation focused on caring for ourselves, I wanted to ask of our group a couple of things, just to have an understanding of who we are together. If you could use the chat for two things. One, to text your country, and then two, if you would, this is a tool that I invite you to consider using. It's the first tool here in the presentation, a 1 to 10 scale. I'm going to present a scale to you and ask that you let a number pop in your head. So what I'm about to ask is not a thinking question answer, it's a scale, and whatever number pops in your head, that's your number. And if you would include that in your Zoom chat. And so here's the scale. On a scale of 1 to 10, as we settle into our conversation about caring for ourselves, 10 is I am strong, I'm grounded, I'm making my way through this pandemic with as much strength and focus as I could ever ask of myself. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. That's 10. And 1 is I am enveloped in fear and terror and need some good ideas before this session is over. That's 1. So if you'd use the chat to say the country you're in as we're together, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is great, 1 is really fragile, what number came to your mind? Nice, there's some strength, some 10s coming in. Beautiful. Again, as we gather, Germany, Costa Rica, United States, there's a 5, 1, 0, 1. The scale is 1 to 10. 10 is great, 1 is fragile. I always say with clients, let us pause at below 5. Let us pause and get some things figured out. So I hope this presentation will contribute to that. Yeah, so it varies on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is great, 1 is, so I appreciate the sharing of 5, 7. Certainly, let me put forth, if anyone is not wanting to share a number or feeling 1, 2, or 3, my contact information will be at the end of our session together, and you're more than welcome to be in touch. My second and only question right now is if people could raise your hands, if as we are together here on May 7th, if you've been directly impacted by the COVID virus. A lot of people, their faces aren't here right now, but so directly impacted it. I'm not seeing many other screens. So I know a few hands went up, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, my heart goes out to you, and at the end of my presentation, we'll have time to ask questions, to share information. So I appreciate coming into this discussion. I am located in upstate New York. We have been working rigorously to socially distance, to isolate, and I feel that I'm one of the blessed right now, in that I do not have the illness. Loved ones have not gotten this illness. Clients have not. So I come with strength, prepared for what challenges might be next. I wanted to acknowledge the extraordinary nature of the evolutionary moment that we're in together, a truly global moment in time. I come to this discussion with a work in progress, due regard for all of the skills that you bring to your lives today and to the people that you are supporting. So my sharing is what I'm working with and what my clients are working with. So I offer that up. This is, I think, day 69 since New York State has been locked down in quarantine. And certainly the shift in mid-March, with acknowledging the shocking truth of this pandemic, and the shift into however one's community was figuring out how to respond, is a real impact on the individual, as it is on the globe and on different parts of the globe. And so my suggestion with this pandemic showing up and our response to it, that it has impacted our individual alignment with our mind, body, and spirit. We've been impacted by an extraordinary time. Many will refer to that experience as trauma. We've been in a period of transitioning. This is May 7th. We've been learning about the virus, learning about how to be safe, learning about how to take care of self, how to be a participant citizen of the world. It occurred to me early on in this adaptation, in this transition, that I needed to make a decision that to ensure that my values will transcend this pandemic. And as a social justice activist, as a social worker, it felt very profound to acknowledge that indeed my fundamental personhood is challenged by this pandemic, and the decision to allow my values to transcend this time has been a very empowering framework with which to go through the days. I present to you and work with clients with the concept of, we each have a primary relationship in this life, and it's with ourselves. It's from there that we branch out to loved ones, to community. It's a concept that I hadn't considered until about 15 years ago. And when I recognized and learned that the primary relationship in life is with oneself, I looked and said, oh my gosh, that relationship is a mess in my life. And thus began a continued journey to understand what it means to function from a place of empowerment. With today's presentation being caring for ourselves during this time, I offer to you the beginning of the practice section of this presentation. I wish someone had told me 50 years ago the following: our breath is a tool. It is work to be alive, and a primary central tool in living is our breath. So if you would, as you can, in this moment, breathe in through your nose with me, hold, and release through your mouth. Again, if you would, breathe in through your nose fully, Hold, release through your mouth. Our breath is a primary tool that we can use and ought to through the day. The stories of our day, the stories of our emotions live in the brain, different parts of the brain. Acknowledging through the day the use of the tool of the breath by breathing in, holding, and releasing actually interrupts some of the messaging going on in the brain and allows us to bring ourselves in alignment with our body, awareness of our emotions, awareness of the world around us. And in so doing, you've created or continue your meditation practice. The world that this presentation is in is focused on emotions. And it's astounding to me how there is no training in the world as we're growing up on what emotions are, how to work with them. I thought as a younger person that my emotions, that was me. And I said, certainly didn't consider that I had any involvement in how they were to be experienced. And I've come to understand emotions are a part of these lives of ours. And we now know so much about what it means to physically be in shape. If I want a tight tummy, I have to do sit-ups every day, a lot of them. And we work our bodies. We know so much about what we ought to be putting into our bodies. And as so too with emotions. I consider emotions to, if you consider life to be a boat ride, I consider the emotions to be the rudder of that experience. And it's a wonderful creative process to become involved in working with one's emotions. I think fundamentally, we participate in life in one of two places emotionally, one from a place of reactivity, where our emotions are internalized or being expressed externally, but there's no form, it can be chaotic, not intentional, without discipline or practices. And there's a place of emotional intentionality. And I think our breath, again, breathing in, hold, release. I say that throughout talks like these to practice with it. I think that being in a place of intentionality, that's taking a breath, that's being in alignment with awareness with what's happening internally so that you can make the best choices possible externally. We're all managing significantly deepened experiences of anxiety, fear, rage, sadness, confusion, and we want to continue tending to self so that we can be open to warmth, color, beauty, kindness, justice. I am encouraging all of us to embrace your base. If you're in your home and that's feeling good, that's ideal. If you're in a temporary setting, if you're moving from setting to setting, use your breath, embrace your base, and arrange your external world as comfortably as you're able in this time. The foundation blocks of self-care is a list that I've developed over the years and encourage people to use as an exercise, as a practice to enhance your relationship with yourself. What does it mean to have a relationship with myself? Well, here's a list of ways that we all need to consider taking care of the foundations of our lives. So here it is, the foundation blocks of self-care. Thank you so much for your slides, Nastia, and your technical skillfulness. Foundation blocks of self-care. This is a list I say to clients all of the time, right up front. This is not an I should list. I should do this, I should do that, creates the potential for shame and blame that's a waste of energy, in my opinion. This is a list of how am I. So if the primary relationship is the one that needs to be tended to and strengthened so that everything else we do holds a quality of certainty in that way. We want to be asking and nurturing these aspects of life. And so it is a tool that can be used ideally at the beginning of the day, using your breath. Breathe in, hold, release, and you begin asking yourself, how am I? Not I should, but how am I? I use this tool a lot. I breathe in and out and I assess kind of rest. I feel rested. I feel like I haven't had a good night's sleep in 10 years. I feel like I'm glad my calendar's free so I can go back to sleep. I feel like I'm tired and I have to go on with the day. And so I'm going to give thought to where I'm going to close my eyes and rest at different times in the day. I get to think through with myself. Rest is on the list on the top intentionally. The quality of our rest determines the quality of everything else that happens in that 24-hour period. So this is a how am I, and an understanding that these, I don't believe that we arrive at doing it all right and then we're done. You know, the first thing that happens in life is you breathe. The last thing that takes place is we breathe. And in between, as we're making all of our choices and living our lives, this foundation keeps us grounded. So rest, nutrition. Again, how am I? It's a real practice in judgment, because when judgment shows up, you invite it to the next room. This is a self-love, how am I list. Nutrition, am I eating M&Ms? If so, do I have room to change that or not? Am I feeling good about the kale and the chicken, the greens and the proteins? Where am I? Information that will help me as I make my choices through the day. Hydration. Stress is dehydrating. So we can then quickly go to the mathematics of therefore pandemics are too. So you really want to drink water, drink water. When clients begin work with me, I ask that they get two things if they don't already have them: a water bottle and a notebook. Because we want companionship in taking care of ourselves. Movement, you know, it's movement, not exercise. Oh, I should be doing 45 minutes and I haven't, or I'm movement. Take a breath in and out and give thought to it. I'm feeling good about the walks I'm taking every day. I'm feeling badly that I haven't moved at all. It's an essential part of the foundation of self-care. So where am I on that? And I'm going to make sure to do X today or not. I'm checking in with where I am. Connection. People can feel connection taking a walk in the woods. You can feel connection when you're painting, when you're praying. Feel connection with one another. Where am I in connection? And what do I want to do with that information, if any? A breath in, hold, release through each query. Spirit. Part of what I love about this list is it's all up to interpretation. So spirit, I think, fundamentally is how am I at the core of my personhood? And what does spirit mean? For me, it means a meditation practice. For others, it means participating in a faith community. For others, it means just simply taking a breath and knowing how you're doing. I think it's an element of a foundation. So you get to spend time with what is that? I think if your spirit is depleted and you're in a state of darkness, that tells you something. Responsibility. You know, I mean, part of what every adult, every young person and every adult has a to-do list. Sometimes it's, buy groceries and do everything else that's buy groceries, pay bills. Sometimes it's move to another country. Sometimes it's get a divorce. Sometimes it's remember to do the laundry. But we all have a to-do list. So incorporating that into our self-care. How am I doing with that? And certainly during, certainly friends and neighbors of mine who are now without incomes, is a tough category, but having awareness of where it's at versus being frightened by it. So that's the foundation blocks list. As much, it took me time to share it, though using it as a tool can go as quickly as 1, 2, 3, a shorthand for the spirit check-in, as we did at the beginning of our time together, that scale of 1 to 10. That's a quick way to understanding where one's spirit is. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10, I'm great. 1, it's awful. What number pops? That can tell you something right there with, I think I need to get myself a present today. Whatever might show up. So I offer that as an exercise in the beginning of the day. I offer that taking a breath in, holding, and releasing is a meditation practice. I think that engaging in these practices, I've come to understand that engaging rigorously in the practices of self-care is a revolutionary act. And I invite you to consider that. I think finally on that list of responsibilities, as I was making my notes, I wanted to add, but I think as a citizen of the world, in reviewing one's responsibilities, here in New York, we certainly are. Do I have a mask? Am I going to use gloves? What is social distancing? Am I going to ensure that? Am I staying home? Am I washing doorknobs every day and faucets every night? So responsibility fits in there. We get to review it and take ownership of it. Moving on, I think I'm finding it incredibly comforting and empowering to have some voices in this really confusing and distraught globe, to have some voices that I feel trusting in during this time. So, but 2 voices that I'm following throughout this, our governor in New York, Andrew Cuomo. I don't know how familiar people are with that name, but he is badass during this. He is doing daily reports about our state and the state of the world. And if you've not heard of him, I mean, yeah, people have a lot of issues with the teachers in our state aren't big fans of his. He's doing a really great leadership job right now. I think Dr. Anthony Fauci, who in the US is the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, these are thinking people. And so I think finding voices that you can feel a confidence in is really critical. Moving on to routines, such a great framework for making one's way through these days. There was an article in the New York Times on March 21st, a fellow by the name of Scott Kelly. He wrote, titled, "I spent a year in space and I have tips on isolation to share." It's a really useful, quick read, and he certainly starts off and speaks throughout about routine. Getting up at the same time in the morning, going to bed at the same time at night. Using those foundation blocks, this is now he didn't say speak to the foundation blocks, this is my list. Using those foundation blocks in the morning as a how am I, and gathering your information for the day. Include it, to my mind, we want to include in the routine the information from that foundation blocks assessment. Whatever your obligations in life, you're working, your children, what your life is made up on a daily basis, I'm really encouraging us all to schedule relaxation time. Schedule relaxation time to breathe and relax and enjoy and be without the crisis of our time. As part of the routine, to consider your relationship to the news. Where do you want to get your news from? When do you want to be with the news of the day, which is challenging? And how much do you want to take in, and how much is too much? The news is like M&Ms, right? You want to work with it. And within that routine, time outside, time outside, time outside, time outside in the fresh air. And my concluding remarks are, to take a breath in with me right now. If you would, take a breath in through your nose, hold, release through your mouth. If you have issues with being able to breathe in, hold, and release, any issues with breathing, that tells you something about the anxiety and stress that you are carrying internally. So go where you are. Start with just the breath in, but you want to reach for a deep breath in, hold, release. Allow yourself to check in with how you are. Please think about the bottle and the journal as companions to this presentation. And when we do click off, when we are done talking, I want to ask that you take a minute, do that breath practice, and give thought to the points of our time together that you want to remember to take with you. So that is what I have to share. I wonder if people are thinking about stuff, thinking if you are open to sharing some of what is happening for you right now, that'd be great.
So we'll be opening the chat for questions if you have any. I'm gonna start thanking you, Sheila, for everything that you have shared with us. And also I have a question, and it's regarding to a lot of the students at UPeace, a lot of the community at UPeace. Of course, as everyone in the world is having a lot of anxiety, right? So one of the main questions that I get a lot is how can we deal with having panic attacks while being at home, or having a panic attack while being like connected and doing things for school and things like that. So is there, of course you have said like the whole thing about self-care, but is there something that you use with your patients that are useful for them to have as a tool to use when they're having panic attacks or when they're dealing with a lot of anxiety?
I think that the same tools are applicable. Using the breath, I think part of what takes place in an anxiety attack is adrenaline that has us feeling like something has to happen to change this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the breath as a tool to find one center, maybe it's one breath, maybe it's 20. But to breathe in and release, and asking what you need as you're experiencing the attack.
Okay.
Breathe in, hold, release. I need companionship here. Let me get my partner or my friend, or I need a glass of water. So as we breathe and find alignment with our anxiety, panic, energy, if you're able to ask what I need, and what we have and have to remind ourselves is time. It feels like a powerful, immediate wave overtaking, and it is. The
Mm-hmm.
breath, being able to choose the breath, breathe in, hold, release. So acknowledging it, choosing to breathe in, hold, release are four interruptions to the narrative of the panic attack. So that's good.
Yeah.
As is each breath. And as you can choose to go from the story of the panic attack, oh my God, we're going to die, to into one's body, enough breaths to find that space to begin dialoguing with the story. How true is this? Oh my God, we're going to die. And asking the question, how true is this in this moment?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
As
you.
we continue regulating energy.
Mm-hmm. If you have any questions, you can write them on the chat so I can read them to Sheila. There's another thing that you said a lot through the talk, and it's like it's necessary not to focus on the I should, right? So how important it is for people not to focus on the expectations, right? There's a lot of expectations on what should I do during this time. I should read a book and learn a new language and do all of these things. But then there's also like this feeling of I'm not actually being able to handle this, and so I feel like a failure if I don't actually deal with this as everyone else is saying that they do deal with it. So how important it is to not just hold on to the shoulds.
Yeah, boy, oh boy. I mean, that's um, a part of what struck me in considering how to be living through this time was the tools. The tools remain the tools through this time, and in developing them now. If you don't have them, they'll serve you for the rest of time. Shoulds, you know, I mean, I think that I I think if it's a productive should, I should I should make sure to pick my kid up on time. I think that's a productive should. I think there's a lot of should that is very shaming, and shame is such a powerful challenge in life and accrues over time. And so the shoulds of I should write a book during this pandemic. I should, you know, I think that what we ought to be doing is surviving this, and we are. And we are adapting. Should I, you know, I think if we invited my clients in here, people would lovingly laugh. And fact, I'm the editor of should. I should. I am. And now let's pull that foundation blocks out and see how I'm doing.
Yeah, it is pretty hard, I guess, sometimes to get the self-care into our daily routine, right? It's is there a way that you have seen that it's like more effective for people to get actually self-care into their routine?
By doing what I'm telling them to do. You know, I really do. I think that in this session, truly breathing in right now, hold, release, you are engaged in your self-care practice. Self-care practice is is with us from the beginning until the end. And it can be this mind me, oh my God, I'm going to take on self-care. I mean, we are self-caring through the day 24/7, either doing well with it, being challenged by it, ignoring it, engaging with it. So I think the foundation blocks, I use my foundation blocks, and I can review a foundation blocks in 30 seconds. I'll write the list, and I'll just use the first letter of each word. R, rest, R, N. I'll do the column, and I'll go through it with my breath. You can do that in 30 seconds. And it gives me useful information. That I choose to use it is a response to the show. I should, you know, I am. And how's my foundation? And be with it. That's me and my relationship. It's like, okay, boy, oh boy, I'm exhausted. I'm eating crap. I haven't moved around in a week. My spirit is low. I don't feel in connection, and my bills I'm behind. Okay, well, breathe again, Sheila, and let's see what we want to do with that. It keeps me accountable to myself. And it
Yeah.
takes 30 seconds, and I can choose to not do anything after that 30 seconds. When I'm not engaging at the beginning of the day, I know my relationship to my self-care is hurting.
Yeah, it is. There's a question. It says, are these principles applicable as a tool in dealing with clients with burnout problems?
I'm sorry, would you read it one more time?
Sure. It says, are these principles applicable as a tool in dealing with clients with burnout problems?
Yes, I think it's a great tool for all clients. You know, when I began doing work with people in the trauma program, we consider trauma anything from a single incident, a car crash, a house fire, through the daily oppression of racism and classism and poverty and everything in between. And when people come to spend time, we work very hard in our office, in our space, for where people are welcome to is a place of dignity, and that pain is respected and regarded.
Mhm.
And that's the culture and the energy that people are coming into. And deep pain, trauma is deep pain, and pain is pain. Deep pain, we want we want tools so that we can manage through this pain.
Yeah, sure.
Does that answer the question?
I think so. Martin, you can tell us if that answers your question. I guess it did.
Yes,
So
Alexa.
there's another question. Oh yeah, Martin saying that it thumbs up. Thank you, Martin. So Karen says that is the breathe in, hold, and breathe out useful when one experiences chronic pain on a daily basis?
I think that it can be the breath, breathe in, hold, release, as you can do that, can bring us to all kinds of places within the body. And so if I sit to do my breath, if I'm the short answer is I think so, yes. And I think with chronic pain, as with life's challenges, the compelling question is my relationship to it.
Mm-hmm.
So with chronic pain, what is my relationship to it? And my encouragement would be that it be an empowered relationship, and using all of the tools that we're talking about today would be applicable. When you say chronic pain, where I go in my mind is, okay, I would use my breath and my hand and place my hand where I'm feeling the pain in my body, and conducting that breath practice. And this breath practice is the one that I've come up with. There are lots of ways with which to engage with breath practices. I like mine the best, though.
There are also like some studies about how to deal with pain, with chronic pain, with breathing techniques. So I think that maybe what we can use is just the one that we feel more comfortable with. Mm-hmm. Is there any other questions that you may have? Sheila has a lot of experience with this type of topics and also with trauma and things like this. I think that one of the main reasons why we wanted to have her here and wanted to do this was because we know that our community and in general the world is actually going through a really hard time. And so trying to deal with this with tools and doing things that may sound simple, but we don't do them, right? Like in general, self-care is so simple to actually do something that actually makes you feel better, but we don't do that through the day because we feel that the other things are more important than self-care. So that's why we want to do this type of things, and we want to open this type of spaces to talk about these issues and to raise awareness of what is it that is best for us to do during this time and this hard time for everyone. Here's the, if there's not any other questions, here's the Sheila's
Could I actually, if there are no other questions though, and we have a little bit of time left still?
Yes.
I wondered, you mean, certainly this was a one-sided presentation with some sharing, thank you, but certainly sharing with each other as we're experiencing these extraordinary times is a component of self-care. And to reiterate, I think that the revolutionary act of caring for self allows us to be competent givers in the world. But I wonder if there are people who would like to share your experience, not a question to me, but share your experiences with our group. I would be so grateful to be with your stories.
Okay, there's a couple of questions, so I'm gonna address them first, and then we can start like doing maybe the sharing if there's anyone that would like to share. So Juliet says, I would love to try meditation, but I have no idea how to start, and I feel I cannot sit still long enough.
Yes.
Is there any easy way to try meditation? That's also
Yes,
a question that I have, I guess.
Yes, I appreciate the question, and I'm now just seeing all of the questions written. Yes, I remember as a younger person saying to someone who was trying to convince me to meditate, well, that'll be the Is there an easy way? Yes. Breathe in with me. Breathe in, hold, release. That's you doing your meditation practice. You don't have to do anything else. Um, if you'd like to cultivate that practice, here's what I think is a big misnomer. I think when we say meditation, I think oftentimes people will think, oh my God, I can't sit still and make my mind blank. Therefore, I stink at meditation. And meditation is not sitting still with a blank mind. Meditation is a practice. You never achieve becoming a perfect meditator. It's a practice throughout life, right? And what you want to do simply, breathe in, hold, release. That breath brings you to the present. And the more moments we can have in a day being in the present, the happier we're going to feel, the more at peace we're going to feel. Breathe in, hold, release. Meditation is saying, all right, I'm going to sit with myself. Maybe it's going to be for 1 minute as a new person to meditation. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to breathe in, hold, release, and I'm going to spend the next 10 seconds counting my breath in and out. 1, 2. And in that 10 seconds, I'm going to bring my focus to my breath and all of the thoughts. Oh my goodness, I wonder if my seminar went okay and what people are thinking about it afterwards. And with everything going on in my head, I'm choosing to breathe in, hold, release, and the activity of meditation is acknowledging these thoughts and coming back to the breath and knowing I'll get to those thoughts in a minute. That's meditation. Mm-hmm. I do it over and over again. My general practice, I've had a meditation practice for 14 years. I try and do 20 minutes a day. Sometimes I do that 7 days a week. Sometimes I haven't done it for a month. Sometimes I'll do it once a week. It's a practice. Pick it up as you can. A place that I meditate always. I don't even know if this is relevant anymore. When I would go to the post office, anytime I would be in a line, I'm in a line, I'll meditate. So that has calmed my Irish temper down quite a bit.
So there's a couple of comments here, and one, Susanna is also giving Juliet a recommendation. So if you want to see it, that will also be good. And Susanna wants to share something. So of course, yeah, sure, do it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susanna. No, it's just, well, first of all, thank you, Sheila, for taking this time to share such valuable information with all of us. And it's just a project that a friend of mine from London got together, and it's really nice because it's a way to share how everyone is dealing with quarantine at a time. So the project really is just to take 6 photographs of your quarantine, or what it means to you. It could be, just a photo of you cooking or something, and to write a letter to a stranger. So that the photos and the letter would go to a website, which my friend is actually arranging, well, in charge of, and she will send this letter to someone around the world. So someone would get this information, and maybe with some advice, or just, with good comments or something. So it's really nice, and I can share it with you guys. I can upload the picture with the website if you want to just, participate. It's really nice. It's a nice activity. I've done it, and it's quite, it's good. It's really nice.
I'd love to see it. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so I'll upload it, and thank you again. And yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Like, we were like, there's not a lot of people in, so anyone else want to share anything? Karen?
Well, hi everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for this this way of changing a little bit the way I interact with myself. I mean, I didn't know that breathing was so important in in the aspect of, you know, relaxing yourself and, you know, just put your mind in blank for a little bit, because sometimes it talks too much and so loud. And so in my case, that's one of the most common situations in my life. I mean, I might be still, but my head is running wild. So it's a good tip. I I'll do it every day. Also because I'm working from home, as well as my husband is, well, my fiance is. So and we have two dogs and a cat that they cause a little disruption when we are working. And so I think that even though they cause disruption, it changes the environment a little bit, because we are so busy working. He's in the living room. I'm working in our room, and so it's kind of, we're just focused on working at the moment. We're doing that, so you know, having them disrupt sometimes, it is troublesome, but at the same time, it's like changing a little bit the mindset for a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, and having
So
at home, having at home, be you working with that routine so that you can physically move things when work is done, or close a notebook and you know, recreate so that now it's a space of relaxation. I also think with the breath work, we want to, with that breath, with each breath, we want to come into the body, right? So the suffering happens up here. Our mind is going and going and going, and we struggle. The breath brings you into the body, and the main tool next to the breath is curiosity, right?
yes,
So all of this used to have, all of this can hold a, you know, oh my goodness, I'm so behind and I have this much to do and I'm worried about that and this happened and now that's gonna happen. And the breath brings you into the body and you bring curiosity. Look at me yakking away at everything I'm worried about. Let me, when I breathe in and out, how do I feel in my body? Well, come to think of it, my shoulders are tight. Let me breathe there. How am I doing now? Well, the more I breathe, this yakking can tend to go away, or go further away anyway, go out. With each breath, I'm kind of inviting it out, and I move into my body and I'm hungry, haven't eaten for a while. Breathe in and out. Let me take a sip of water. I'm actually feeling kind of thirsty. So the breath has the power to keep bringing us back into the body, which is where the present is.
okay. Well, that's a good technique. Also, I wanted to share with everyone here something that I would call it my time during the day, which is I love reading. So when I'm reading, I'm not present for anyone else. I mean, that's my moment. It's just me and the book. And I mean, I don't, I just put my cell phone away, put it away, and I don't care about computers. I don't care about anything else, about all my responsibilities for today, for tomorrow, or for the rest of the week. And so I I think that every one of us needs that time. Well, in my case, since I'm a bookworm, it's a couple of hours. But I know that some other people have really nice practices. My mother-in-law, she loves plants and she has a lot of them. I mean, her garden is beautiful. You can see so many types of plants, and so the shapes and colors are amazing. So I think that a good tip also could be to give yourself that moment, like your time. And that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else?
Yeah. Yeah. First, I would like to thank you, Sheila. I enjoyed this presentation, and I think I picked a lot from here. I have, what will I say, fortunately or unfortunately, been a victim of a lot of this traumatic environment. First, during my UN mission in Chad, we were posted to one of the hard areas around the Sudanese borders, and we saw a lot of, people with burnout among the troops. And then, of course, I was a victim of the war effort at Liberia, working with ICRC, and then the Ebola crisis again at Liberia, and then find myself again locked down again here in Amsterdam. But something that has helped through all those different um, facets of trauma has been, like you say, the ability to let go and then intentionally find time to rest. And of course, you think that you want to change the whole world, but you can't do always. And the ability to recognize humanity as to know that you are not alone, and move forward. So I think my advice is that we should take this very seriously. Rest is a therapy in itself. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so very much, Martin. Yeah.
Clementine wanted to talk.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much, Sheila, for the presentation. Super insightful. And I think you actually recall how much it was important to go back to basics with, I don't remember, 8 elements you mentioned: movement, spirit.
7.
Seven, the number. And I think that actually this is my feeling, I don't know, but most of the UP students, we are experiencing another kind of experience now, because we are at the end of our master program. And so we were supposed after the end of this master to start look for jobs, internship, and to start and to kick off our career. So I think we're in different phases, in the sense that I think we're experiencing this virus in another way. I think if every one of us is experiencing in its own way, but I think we are most of the UP students are like in this phase that we were like ready to kick off our career and all, and now I think we have this those thoughts, running into our mind, like, what are we going to do? I mean, how is the situation going to be? Maybe it's not going to be reestablished until like maybe 2 years. We don't know if we're going to be able to travel again. And since we are, most of us want to work on an international scale, I think it's what concerns us the most. So I just wanted to, maybe have your thought about this, if you have some ideas, and I would be so grateful for that. Thank you.
Yes. So thoughts, more Clementine. I appreciate all that you were saying, but if you can clarify what you want a response on, please.
Yeah, of course. I think, I'm not sure, Nastia. Maybe Nastia can also confirm. I think that, I mean, a lot of us, like UP students, we've been experiencing the stress of what are we going to do in the future, right? In terms of career plans. And personally, I've been like wanting to work outside my country forever. And I wanted to work in New York, for example. This was my dream plan, right? And so, it's all about adaptation, I know. But just, maybe Nastia, I don't know, because you have more experience with UP students than I have.
of course.
I think that we talked about this a little bit before the presentation, and it's like UP students are a particular branch, right? Because there's like most of them come from different countries, and so all of them want to work probably also like outside of their countries, and they want to work in other countries. So the whole thing about not being able to move now and not being able to know when they're going to start to move. So most of them are also looking for internships or volunteering work, and so they're trying to look for things, and a lot of those things are being closed because we have no idea when this going to start to like happen again, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I guess that's probably one of the main concerns, and the uncertainty of not knowing when this is going to stop, right?
Yes.
Some of them
Yes.
don't even know if they're going to be able to go back to their parents or to go back to
Right.
their families
Yeah.
or to whatever they want to go, and we don't know when that's going to happen.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm so sorry. And I think a couple of things that, you know, I think that there's grief that we all have to acknowledge, right? There's grief. It's the what we thought was going to happen in each certainly what I thought was going to be happening in my life this year is not happening. And as the dates approach for what I thought was going to happen and isn't, I'm experiencing a disappointment, a grief, so I think we need to acknowledge that. And I think, yes, Nastia, the word uncertainty, I think that we are a relational species. So our relationship to uncertainty is where we're all living right now. And that breath and that self-care keeps us in the present. And there's a certainty to my day, and there is an uncertainty. And my heart goes out to the folks who are, you know, the seniors in high school and in college and in programs where the next step has been, that step isn't there right now. My heart goes out to you. Process your grief, experience it, talk with one another about it, deepen your self-care. It'll serve you for the rest of your life. And look around. You know, what voices that I'm following are saying is, all right, come on, let's start wrapping our heads around what the new normal looks like. Listen to what other people are talking about, the field that you're interested in, you know, spend time there virtually and see what folks are saying. I'm spending time in the therapist world to understand how my colleagues are conducting mental health care in these times. You know, how do you do the work that you intended to do? Take care of yourself, process your feelings, be in meditation, right? Take 5 minutes to do that breathing and be with the concept of uncertainty. It is uncertain. Let me be with that. Practice being with it and keep my eyes and ears open to keep my eyes and ears open for what I need to learn now, because life just turned on a dime.
So yeah, basically it's like, thank you so much for your answer. I really feel like it's kind of embracing uncertainty, right? It's exactly that, like, okay, this is a negative feeling, but I'm embracing it, and I'm okay. I'm gonna deal with it, and it's gonna be a new challenge for me, right?
That's right. They're a beautiful way of putting it. That's what we said earlier in the presentation. We can work with emotions just like we do with the body. I want to fit tummy. I go like this, and just as you so beautifully described, Clementine, right? So emotion shows up. Here's fear. I acknowledge it with my mind, here's my fear. And then my decision to choose to breathe in, hold, and release. I welcome the emotion to go through. Breathe in, hold, and it might take 50 breaths. It might take 10 breaths. I might not be able to get it all the way through because I have to go to a next appointment. But feelings will move through if we let them. And when feelings are stuck, that's when we suffer. We can endure, we can work with, we can practice, we can be grounded. When we get stuck, I am depressed, I am fearful. when I'm stuck in that, that's where my suffering comes from.
When actually you try to fight those feelings, right? When you try to control them.
Yes.
Mhm.
I always tell my patients that trying to control emotions is like trying to hold a river. You can build whatever, but it's still gonna flow. And at some point it's gonna get out of whatever you built. And so it's not gonna be able to just be there. Like my main recommendation is just try to recognize it. If you do recognize it, then it'll flow. But if you don't, if you try to stop it, it'll like always be the noise in the back of your head. So it's just recognizing feelings and emotions. We, like Sheila said it really good. We are not, we don't teach our children to recognize emotions. And so we weren't taught to actually recognize our own emotions. And so the first time that we fell down and we started to cry, everyone was like, no, don't cry, nothing happened, right? So we have to recognize these emotions. We have to recognize that we're vulnerable and that we're going through this, and that this is a really hard time for everyone, and that some people may read 3 to 5 books every week, and some people won't be able to even read them, right? It's like, that's why I think the shoulds, we have to take away these I should things and just put them in another place, because we need to be good to ourselves. And that is something
And
that
so,
we do by recognizing.
and and the shoulds will come up. So it's not like, okay, now the next time should comes up, now I'm bad because should came up. And I said I wasn't. When should comes up, recognize it. There's the should. I'm going to breathe and ask myself, what is my next step? If my next step is continuing to be on the couch with my potato chips watching TV because that's what I'm going to do, then so be it.
Mm-hmm.
So be it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you
Well,
so much, Nancy and Sheila, for your comprehensive answers. Thank
so,
you.
well, guys, if nobody else has like any comments or questions, I would like to like really appreciate all of you that connected for an hour with us and just talked about these things. And thank you, Sheila, for having also shared your time with us. We know that it's really valuable, so thank you for sharing that time with us. And also, if you guys have any questions, just you can send it through the email. We can just forward it to Sheila, or we can like do something else, maybe even another talk about how to deal with certain things. But then everything is open. You already have my email, so you can write to my email, and I'm gonna share it again, the Sheila's information. So if you didn't get it, you can have it over here. There. So you have Sheila's email, and that's her phone number, and we're open to anything that comes up. And so thank you so much, Sheila, for sharing this time with us.
Boy, oh boy, everyone, it's been such a thrill for me to be with you and be in community with you. I wish you all goodwill, and wash your hands.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Nastia.
Bye.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.